Today we're talking about the truth behind Halloween, why people seem to be so obsessed with it, because we're going to be looking at the secret psychology behind Halloween that explains the infatuation with this holiday. And this is very important actually for Hyperianism and what we discuss, because as you know, Shadow Season is right around the corner because we celebrate Shadow Season and it starts on Halloween and ends on New Year's. This is because Halloween and New Year's are actually extremely positive holidays, and in between though there aren't some good ones, such as Thanksgiving, that's founded on genocide origins, and also Christmas, which has been taken over by religion, consumerism, and all that sort of thing. But Halloween kicks off Shadow Season, and we're going to take a look at the psychology behind Halloween, and we're going to discover the darkness that is there and how it's actually extremely beneficial for us and how we can use it to unlock our power, unlock our dark aspects of ourselves. And it also explains exactly why people love this holiday, why people become so obsessed with it, etc. Now, some of you may know I grew up in a very strict Christian religious household. I was not allowed to celebrate Halloween, which leads to a lot of repression. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But in general, I'm really excited about this stream. It's going to be a good one. And we are also having a Halloween stream this Thursday. This coming Thursday, it's going to be a Shadow/Halloween stream. So make sure that you are there for that. But let's get started. So as we look at the dark psychology behind Halloween, there are actually a few different elements that we're going to talk about, because Halloween is actually a very positive holiday and psychologically, and there are many different elements that make it positive, and we're going to take a look at different ones. And the first one that we're going to take a look at is going to be by looking at this article by PhD psychologist Gretchen Schmelzer called Halloween, A Chance to Dance with Your Shadow. And this is going to, this is perfect for Shadow Season, which begins on Halloween and ends on New Year's. And very important to understand this, along with other ideas that we're going to talk about regarding why Halloween is so popular. We start off with this brilliant quote by Carl Jung, Swiss psychiatrist. It says, "How can I be substantial if I do not cast a shadow? I must have a dark side also if I am to be whole." It was a sunny day yesterday when I took a short walk. At one point, I was looking down because the sun was so bright. I saw the perfect shadow of a butterfly. The shadow was huge and flapping and caught me by surprise, because you don't expect to see a butterfly when you look down. The shadow was this sign that there was something else, something beautiful, if I could find it. I looked up and the sun was bright, and at first I couldn't see the actual butterfly, just the shadow. The sunlight obscured the butterfly as a silhouette. I stood patiently and had to look away from the sun for a moment, and then I saw it, bright orange and brown, flapping towards the autumn trees, practically blending in. I need to see my shadow, befriend it, and by doing so, find my own beauty. So everyone has a shadow side, the side that we don't want to show the world, the things we don't like to talk about ourselves or others. Our shadow isn't always bad, but it's the part of us we don't know, don't want to know, or are afraid to know, or don't know how to handle. We talk a lot about the shadow self and Hyperianism, and I will explain it very briefly here, because we could talk about it for hours, but I've talked about it a lot. Many people watching have heard this before. But your shadow self is the parts of yourself that were repressed, most likely while you were growing up, but not necessarily so. They're the parts of you that society said are wrong. And so you gain this psychological discomfort, this psychological negative experience, because you were punished, you were told it was wrong, you were made fun of by friends, family, peers. And so to avoid this psychological pain, what you do is you compartmentalize that aspect of you into your unconscious. You hide it away in your shadow. So basically, you take a piece of you and you deny that it exists. And that reservoir in your unconscious that contains all of this content of you that you've denied, That's your shadow. That's all the repressed content. And it can be good things. It can be bad things. There's no judgment about whether it's good or bad. It could be both. It could be one or not. What it is just that which is repressed. So it could be something like anger. If you have angry outbursts all the time, well, you'll get punished. So to compensate, you may repress that and put that into your shadow. But also it can contain creativities, wildly creative abilities, like creativity, like individuality, because this world doesn't like people who are too unique. You'll be made fun of. You'll be told you're weird. So often creativity and individuality gets cut off from who you are. And so that vibrant and wild and beautiful aspect of you gets placed into your shadow. So your shadow is just this reservoir in your unconscious that you have cut off from yourself because it has caused you difficulty in your life. So, and that brings me to this holiday, Halloween. It's the holiday of shadows. And again, this is one reason why shadow season begins on Halloween. So it's the holiday of shadows, of bringing what most frightens us, what is hidden from us, what is unpracticed in us out in the open. It's the opportunity to come as you aren't, which children know instinctively. They dress as the most powerful beings they can, superheroes, princesses, ninja warriors. They can dress in costumes that make them feel all the power that they usually can't as children, and they revel in it. The bigger the cape, the longer the dress, the more weapons they carry, the better. So here's an interesting thing to talk about, because first of all, let's talk about the shadow for a minute and how that has to do with Halloween. During Halloween, you are able to express parts of yourself without being judged by society. You can dress how you want. You can wear that crazy makeup. You can express certain parts of yourself, certain sides of yourself that you normally can't do. And often people express this the shadow, even in your dreams. The shadow will often represent itself as frightening creatures, scary monsters, shadowy creatures. And that's because we are afraid of our shadows. Our shadow is what caused us so much discomfort. And so it gets manifested within our dreams as frightening creatures. And you can see in Halloween that often people will dress as frightening creatures. And this can be a manifestation, even if it's unconscious, they don't know it, of tapping into their shadow, tapping into that dark part of themselves, getting a chance for that dark part of themselves to come out for one night without being judged. And it's really funny because I have actually never worn a costume for Halloween. And here's why. Because I grew up in a strict Christian household. I was not allowed to celebrate Halloween. It was viewed as evil and demonic. And so, again, and this is just another case in point how mainstream religion is so restrictive. Look how you have this one night to express your shadow self and express who you are, and then religion says, nope, sorry, you're not allowed to do that. That's evil. That's demonic. So you can see how religion, just even in that example, is a constant source of shadow repression. And that's just one little example dealing with the holiday. But regarding your sexuality, regarding different life experiences, you are constantly repressed. Religion is a huge source of shadow repression. But anyway, I was not allowed to celebrate Halloween. There were these alternatives to Halloween that we would have at our church that I don't remember if they no, what was it called? It was called something like Fall Day, or I don't remember, but it wasn't Halloween. And you could dress up as Bible characters and play games, but I didn't do that because that's stupid. But anyway, so growing up, I never expressed, I never wore any costumes because I wasn't allowed to. I mean, I never dressed up for Halloween. I actually wore costumes on days that weren't Halloween. I like dressing up, but I never actually dressed up for Halloween. Then when I got older, as a teenager, I still never dressed as anything for Halloween. And here's really my point here, is that when I was in my teenage years, I was, I dressed goth, alternative, trench coats, eyeliner, all that sort of thing. And often you would get made fun of. Nowadays, it's not so bad, but in early 2000s, yeah, walking down the street, people would yell at their cars, I don't know, something about go back to the coffin vampire or something like that, whatever, insulting. But it's funny because on Halloween, I would just wear what I would normally wear. And all these people would compliment me on my costume. They'd be like, oh, yeah, man, your costume's so awesome. Yeah, you look great. You're so, it's so cool. You look awesome. But I wasn't wearing a costume. That's just what I would wear every day. And it's really funny because it's the same people that would have made fun of me and insulted me on every other day, but because it was Halloween, it was acceptable, and then they would compliment me. Now, I'm not saying that this is okay. It's terrible that our world acts this way, but I think you can see how Halloween allows people to tap into their expressive side and their shadow side and their hidden side without being made fun of by society, without encountering that psychological discomfort that originally threw a part of themselves into their shadow, locked a part of themselves away. Halloween, you can do that without encountering that psychological discomfort. And this is a huge reason why Halloween is so attractive and people get really into it, because it's that one chance for people to be able to unlock a certain part of themselves without being judged by society. And of course, it's very sad that for society, it's only one day of the year. But in general, you can see what I mean, why why people get obsessed with it. And even if they don't consciously know that that's why. And it's funny because I remember a particular Halloween. Again, I wasn't dressed as any costume. It was me and my girlfriend at the time. We were just hanging out in our normal clothes. And there was this guy, and he was dressed up as a punk. Like, that was his costume. And it was a great costume, but it's really funny. I remember my girlfriend at the time remarked to me, like, yeah, that guy probably wishes he could dress like that every single day. But he can't. He can only do it on Halloween because he's afraid of people judging him. And it's true. You could tell by his costume, it wasn't, you could tell that it wasn't just a costume he was wearing. It was something, because it was really good. He looked just like a punk with the patches and everything that were reflective of the bands that he liked. You could tell he was really expressing himself. And so, yeah, it's absolutely right that person would have wanted to do this every single day of the year if he could, but he couldn't. So you can see where it's this day of releasing the shadow. Now, but there's more to it than just that, because not only does it allow us to unleash the shadow, but it allows us to unleash our unconscious in general. So in Hyperianism, we use three main archetypes to describe the realm of the unconscious: your shadow self, your mirror self, and your power self. We just discussed the shadow self, how it's all the different parts of yourselves that were repressed. What is your mirror self? Your mirror self, it's a bit complicated, but I'm going to simplify tonight, okay? Simplified, your mirror self is your inner opposite. And so it can often express itself as your gender opposite. Just like your shadow can express itself as a frightening creature, your mirror self is your inner opposite and can express itself as a gender opposite. And guess what? You see this all the time in Halloween as well, as you'll have men dressing like women or women dressing like men, and they might even pretend that they're joking or something. But often, of course, this is driven by an unconscious desire, and they want to express this even if they don't know it, but they can do it on that one night of the year without being ridiculed or judged for it. Now, again, that's terrible that this world does ridicule and judge people for it, but you can see how Halloween is that day of being able to explore and actualize your unconscious through the shadow, through the shadow self, through the mirror self, exploring your opposite. And then also there is the power self. Now, what is the power self? So the shadow self is all the different parts that you repressed. Your mirror self is your inner opposite that often manifests as a gender opposite. And then your power self is your inner power, your inner strength. And this often manifests itself as people often project this. So it is the politician that they admire and want to be just like, or the god in the sky that they worship. That's your power self is actually, that's in you. You have the power to be that. But people give their power away to an external, another human, or to a being in the sky. But your power self, everything that you admire in others or even characters on TV, that is deep within you. And so how do we see this manifested in Halloween? Through dressing up as superheroes, dressing up as these powerful characters that represent our inner power, the superhero or supervillain, whatever, the powerful being that you want to be is manifest in what you choose to express on Halloween. So you can see Halloween is this brilliant holiday that's extremely helpful in this awfully repressed world. In this terribly repressed world that we live in, Halloween is this one night of the year when people are allowed to explore their unconscious without being judged by society. They can explore their shadow self. They can explore their inner opposite. They can explore their inner power. Now, of course, in Hyperianism, we know we want to be able to integrate these things all the time. I'm not saying that, oh, we can only do it one night of the year. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying in a very repressive society, that is the time that people feel free to be able to do this, even if they don't consciously know it. And we can see that even as, in this article. See, and that brings me to this holiday, Halloween. It's the holiday of shadows, of bringing what most frightens us, what is hidden from us, what is unpracticed in us out in the open. It's the opportunity to come as you aren't. So again, this can manifest as the shadow or mirror or power self, whether you're, dressing up as a part of yourself that you're locked away, or your inner opposite that can manifest as a gender opposite, or your power self, which would be relating to a superhero. So children know this instinctively. They dress as the most powerful beings they can, superheroes, princesses, ninja warriors. They dress in costumes that make them feel all the power that they usually can't as children, and they revel in it. And that's also, what we do today. And we feel powerless often in a society that is oppressive. In a society where that's ruled by a billionaire elite that treats humanity as slaves, we are fettered about in a world where we often feel powerless. And so it's a time to explore and express your power self, to feel powerful. So the bigger the cape, power self, the longer the dress, mirror self, the more weapons they carry, the better. Halloween allows you to literally live and play inside your shadow. And again, not just the shadow, but the unconscious as a whole, shadow self, mirror self, power self. Dress as your darker side. Dress as your lighter side. Dress as your more feminine side or your more powerful side. Do you see how liberating it is? You are exploring your unconscious. It's a bit like dreaming awake. In a certain sense, Halloween is a bit like dreaming awake, because in your dreams, it's a world created by your unconscious. And you're going to find all these different parts of you popping up. Now, when you are awake, you are in this world in Halloween where you can express your unconscious through yourself. So it's a bit like bringing your dream world into reality. See, if you notice an ability to do or say things that you can't normally do. Oh, that's what the author is saying. See if you notice an ability to do or say things that you don't normally do. Ruth Reichel, in her book Garlic and Sapphires, talks about her experience as a New York Times food critic. She would dress in disguise as a variety of characters so that restaurants wouldn't recognize her, and she found that in certain disguises, she had the power to do things that she couldn't as her regular self. For example, in one disguise, she could assertively send food back to the kitchen, something she normally couldn't do. So let this Halloween be a beginning, a New Year's celebration of your shadows. And again, emphasizing, this is why we begin shadow season on Halloween. Halloween is a brilliant time to start off shadow season. And we end it on New Year's, because New Year's is also a positive holiday where you set your intentions and celebrate a new beginning and set goals for yourself. But anyway, we won't get into that tonight. Halloween. So let this Halloween be a beginning, a New Year's celebration of your shadows. a chance to bring one of your shadow selves out for a dance, out in the light for a chance to see its beauty, its usefulness, its strength. You could bring it out in playful costume or simply in spirit. And tomorrow, and by the way, that's why I always felt like I didn't need to dress up for Halloween as well, is because you notice it was something that I did every day of the year. So I didn't feel this. So to me, it was more like just another day, because I was integrated with my shadow self. I was it every day. I didn't fear being made fun of by other people. So that's why I really never felt a real big need at that point in my life to dress up for Halloween, because, you know, it's kind of cliche to say, but every day is Halloween. Every day is, I had integrated my shadow. There was no need for that. So you can see how in Hyperianism, we want to be able to integrate all aspects of our unconscious and not just come out on a certain day. Now, that doesn't mean you have to dress in a wild and crazy costume every single day, or it doesn't even mean that you have to dress outlandishly every day, or, you know, not to say that something is outlandish. There is standards are arbitrary, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. You can be well integrated with your shadow, your power self, and mirror self in your mind as well. But you can express it as well. But anyway, you get the idea. So, and tomorrow, when the holiday is over, you can still find ways to make friends with your shadows. Whatever you are working with right now, my experience is that something happens, some small piece of growth happens, some new view of the world occurs, and something cracks. Something cracks enough for the light to shine in on the hidden things, and you can get a glimpse of the shadow. These cracks are permanent, and once light gets in, the shadow is seen. It's attached. It's connected to who you are. Our shadows, the things we don't like, can't do too much of, can't feel too much, feel shame about, can't tolerate, all these things over the years are hidden. They are our shadows. They are also what make us whole. Hidden on our shadows are also our butterfly wings, our superhero capes, and our dancing shoes. Take them out, get to know them, and twirl around. I love this article. I think it's a fantastic article and brilliantly encapsulates why Halloween is the start of shadow season. And that's what it's all about. Put on those capes, explore your, put on those capes, wear those dresses, put on those pants, explore your power self, explore your inner opposite, explore your mirror self, explore your shadow self, all these different parts of you that get repressed throughout the year. Halloween is a time to play with them, to bring them out, to explore them prominently. And it's the beginning of that. And in a world that normally doesn't let you express yourself in any sort of way at all, which is a terrible thing. So that is one idea of why. Now, there's also one other aspect of Halloween that I want to discuss, and that is the idea of death. So here is another psychological aspect of Halloween, and I'm just not going to read too much of this, but this is a little bit from Psychology Today by Andrea Pollard. So here's the idea as well. Death is often looked at as this very scary thing in our society, and it has a very negative stigma about it. And that's sad that it's like that. The Egyptians had a much more positive view of death. Often their life would be about preparing for death as a transition to a different sort of world. And so in Hyperianism, we have the same sort of view, in that death isn't, it can be difficult because, you lose loved ones and you don't see them anymore, and that can be extremely difficult to deal with. And dealing with your own avatar's mortality is difficult. But in general, this world places a huge negative stigma on death, and that can be difficult. And it's unfortunate that it is that way, because ultimately we are eternal minds and eternal beings, and our avatars are just fleeting. Death is just like night. You have days and nights, days and nights, days and nights. You have lifetimes and deaths, lifetimes and deaths, lifetimes and deaths, and you exist eternally as an eternal mind. It's just your avatar that goes by. And so Halloween is this way to poke fun at and play with the idea and embrace the idea of death. Because on Halloween, death is everywhere, but it's nothing scary. I mean, if you go to a haunted house, it's scary, but it's all in good fun. You know that you're not actually in danger, that nothing is going to really hurt you. So it's a time to embrace death, play with death, poke fun at death, to take the sting of death away. So It's facing and embracing your impermanence. Make room in this season to turn inward and become still. Light a candle at the dinner table. Think about how precious life is and how you want to feel about your life when you look back one day. Are you doing what you want to do? Are you overcoming your fears and go after your dreams? The thought of death can be depressing, but when we are capable of just looking at this fact, that is, if we can acknowledge our impermanence without letting feelings take over our awareness, such thoughts can also be inspiring. And while I do agree with this to some extent, I think the main thing to take away with this from the Hyperion perspective is the negative stigma that comes with death. And Halloween is a time to overcome that negative stigma, because when you make fun of something, when you laugh at it, you take its power away. You laugh in the face of death. You have no power over me, death. Your sting is taken away. And again, death the idea is always going to be something that's difficult, but being able to have that Hyperion avatar, or the Hyperion monadic perspective, remember our three perspectives of avatar, monadic, and absolute. When you have that monadic perspective, you understand that you are an eternal mind. And so Halloween is this time where death is everywhere, but it's a celebration. It's fun. It's nothing to be afraid of. And that really is true. Death is ultimately nothing to be afraid of. And I know that that can be difficult. It is a difficult thing to understand when we are in our avatars. But really, truthfully, when we look at the big picture and the monadic perspective and the absolute perspective, honestly, when it is properly understood, death is just like sleep. It's just a transition to a new day or a transition to a new life in a certain avatar. It's ultimately nothing that should be afraid of. But again, it's difficult in this society. So Halloween is a time to be able to make fun of that, embrace it, and delete its sting. So really, to emphasize all this, I'm a big fan of Halloween, even though I've never worn a costume on Halloween, and I've never really, I have celebrated, I celebrate Halloween with you guys, but because of my religious upbringing, I was never able to when I was a child. And then when I got older, it was just my natural state to be how I am. So I didn't feel a need to wear a costume or anything. But anyway, Halloween is a brilliantly positive holiday in a world where we have extremely negative holidays. Think about some of the holidays we have that are like Thanksgiving, that's founded on genocide, and all the consumerism and capitalism and everything that's now related to Christmas and all that. But Halloween is and I'm not going to say there aren't negative things there. There is some capitalism going along with buying, tons and tons and tons of candy and people making money off of costumes. But you get what I mean. What I mean in seeing the big picture, the whole thing, and there's also, this awesome sense of community as well. I completely forgot to mention that in going door to door, passing out candy. That's beautiful as well, because now you talk about dealing in the realm of the unconscious. Now we're talking about the collective unconscious. And the collective unconscious is that deep part of the psyche that all humans share together, where the archetypes reside. And so the collective unconscious is, if you think of your mind as an iceberg, and you think of the tip of the iceberg as your consciousness, and then you think of the bottom of the iceberg, everything that's submerged under the water that you don't know about, that's your unconscious. The water is the collective unconscious, because there are many different icebergs representing many different minds, and the water is the thing that all the icebergs have in common. That's the collective unconscious. So in addition to it being about your personal unconscious and how the particular archetypes manifest in your unconscious, personal unconscious, as the unique particular ways that they do manifest in in particularity, then there's the collective unconscious that we all share. And this idea of collective and community is also very brilliantly reflected in this idea of going door to door, giving each other candy. And it's this, again, as Hyperions, we can look at this as the absolute perspective and recognizing each other and wanting to make our, everyone's day better but wanting to improve everyone's experience. Like, oh, hi, you, who is me, here's some candy. I hope you/me have a great night. It's this beautiful form of connectivity and community from that collective perspective. So Halloween, I'm a big fan of the extremely positive psychological elements that Halloween affords. And again, this is why we begin shadow season on Halloween. So you can use it as this moment to remove the sting of death, have fun, realize that life is an experience to have fun with. Have fun with the collective. Go around, share candy, all that sort of thing. Be careful, of course. Be safe. There's some assholes out there that, so be careful, be safe. But you know what I mean. And then also embrace your shadow self. Embrace your mirror self. Embrace your power self. Think about your costumes that you want to wear. And think about, are you expressing a certain part of yourself? And I'd love to see that. If some Hyperions wear a costume, wear whatever you want, okay? This is what Halloween's all about. Just wear whatever you want. If you don't even want it to mean anything, if you just want to have fun, of course it's always going to mean something no matter what you really wear, because your unconscious is, some part of you is coming out through that in one way or another. No matter what you wear, some part of you is coming out, even if it doesn't seem like it. Something's coming out. But I think it would be brilliant to see if some Hyperions want to wear a costume that represents their shadow self, or wear a costume that represents their mirror self, or wear a costume that represents their power self, or even a costume that represents their higher self. I'd love to see that. If you want to think about doing that, take photos and tag me or something on Instagram or whatever. I think that would be something really interesting to see as we reflect on these different aspects of ourselves and how that can represent. I'd love to see the different versions of you guys, expressing your shadow, or expressing your inner opposite, or expressing your power self. What does your power self look like? If you could visualize your power self, what would that come out as? Would it be a certain character? Would it be a character from a movie? Would it be something entirely different? Like what, think about, does a certain character of a movie represent your shadow self? Or maybe you just want to not even do a character that exists. Maybe just create something entirely new that accurately reflects it. Anyway, some ideas to think about that I would love to see Hyperions exploring and talking about their shadow self, mirror self, power self, and even higher self through their costumes. Maybe even make a post, talk about it in the caption. I think that would be something excellent to see. So I'm really excited to kick off shadow season with you all on Halloween. And for those of you who don't know, we are this coming Thursday are going to do a live stream for Halloween / shadow season as well. And yeah, I hope you guys understand why Halloween is such a psychologically brilliant holiday, and the importance that it plays in Hyperionism, in really helping the world unleash its unconscious and explore its unconscious and alleviate some of that terrible repression that world brings. So remember that on Halloween as you kick off shadow season, and think about it. Look around too. I think it would be an interesting idea. Look around your friends or family or whoever you're with, and look at the costumes they're wearing and analyze it. Think about, maybe I can see that person's expressing their shadow self. Or maybe you see a friend of yours who's like super masculine all the time, and maybe he's jokingly wearing a dress or something, even though that shouldn't be a joke, but you get what I mean. Like, maybe unconsciously that's their mirror self coming out, or someone else just dressed up as, a superhero or something. So that would be an interesting exercise as well. Take a look at the people around you and play that game. See if you can identify their shadow self, the mirror self, the power self, their higher self. I think that's a fun game in general. We should make that, like a thing that we do for shadow season is, as Hyperions is, make that a game. Like try and identify people's unconscious coming out. I think it's fascinating, and I think it's something that is really fun and that we can all really learn from as well. So anyway, really excited to experience shadow season with you all this year. I hope you learned something. I hope you understand why shadow season is so important to us and how we can use it to have fun, explore ourselves, and see the unconscious come up in others as well. I want to give a huge shout out to all our supporters on Patreon. Patreon is the best way to support my work. A big shout out to all my supporters. You guys are awesome. Shout out to Cassidy, Renaissance Fairy, Jordy, and Michael is our newest gold Omega tier supporter. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. That's how I'm able to do my work. Remember, if you support on Patreon, you get access to our weekly secret live streams, our hidden Discord server, The Citadel, and my lecture notes for some of my videos, other stuff as well. With all the censorship and deplatforming on Facebook and YouTube and everything, it helps out a lot. Also, remember, tier 2 and above on YouTube, membership also gets everything that I just said as well, in addition to those who support on Patreon. So thank you so much. I appreciate it, my friends.